Namaskar. Welcome back to the third episode of Shri Vidya. In the previous episode, we have discussed with our subject expert, Ms. Dr. Vidya, about the link and relativeness of that of psychoanalysis with Shri Vidya. Further continuing the same amazing, profound understanding between the two. Over to you, sir.
We had started to connect Shri Vidya with psychoanalysis, and we said the first connect is both of them deal with self-knowing and self-transformation. 2, both of them deal with healing. 3, both of them deal with faculty enhancement. And 4, both of them deal with enhancing the quality of life. Where the differences come up is the final goal in Shri Vidya is enlightenment, which is different from psychoanalysis. In psychoanalysis, the final goal is normalcy. In Shri Vidya, we are looking at changing the outside world, which is not what we look at in psychoanalysis. In Shri Vidya, we look at development of mystical powers and mystical experiences, which we don't look forward to in psychoanalysis, don't even believe in it. So these are the differences. Now, two things which are worth mentioning here. One, psychoanalysis becomes like the mother science in humanities and social sciences. Because in one way, in a generic essential sense, it is at the foundation of mind. Now, Shri Vidya that way becomes like the most comprehensive of all Vidyas. And many people say that Shri Yantra actually is the master Yantra, and most of the other Yantras are derived from Shri Yantra. That you take some part of Shri Yantra and develop a Yantra out of it. But Shri Yantra becomes more like a master Yantra and Shri Vidya more like a master Vidya. Right? The most comprehensive form of knowledge and practice. So that is another parallel. The third parallel is that both of them deal with very esoteric areas. Areas which are not easy for a lay person to understand. Areas related to the unconscious mind. Areas related to dreams and fantasies. Areas related to deep-seated early life experiences which are still governing us. This is not something that anybody can figure out by experience or intellect unless you really have professional knowledge about it. So Shri Vidya is similar. Even if you give Shri Yantra to somebody, he can't figure out what does it mean. And even if you give the first level knowledge, what we have tried to do today, that what do these areas represent broadly? The moment you say, what does this petal in particular represent? And if an individual X is experiencing something in the petal A, what does it mean and how can he navigate through it? What tools he should be using? Should he be using mantra, visualization, puja, japa, herbal preparation? What should he be using? And how to use mantra, because that is at the center of the whole thing. How to use mantra for healing. Now that is where the difference is. Psychoanalysis does not get into this whole area of holistic healing, whereas Shri Vidya does. So it uses visualization, it uses mantra, it uses body postures like nyasa, it uses pranayam, it uses pranayam, it uses herbal preparations, it uses lifestyle changes, and it uses the yantra. One of the very important elements of the yantra is it collects the energy, which is, it not only depicts geometrically something, it not only depicts the developmental path that you are following, it also collects the energy. It's like a capacitor. It collects the energy, and then when the energy reaches a particular level, it is concentrated together, and like a laser beam, it has effect. So the usual idols that we use, they don't have the capability to conserve energy beyond a few hours. But if we want the energy to be conserved, then yantra has to be used. So we are told in tradition. We don't know the science of it, but so we are told in tradition. So psychoanalysis does not go into these areas of mantra, visualization, herbal preparation, nyasa, which means particular body positions, the nyasa. And in Sri Vidya practice, this is very important, that when you are reciting the mantra, a particular nyasa has to be done, and every syllable of the mantra that you recite, you have to concentrate on particular parts of the body. Like if you are reciting, let us say, the Chamunda mantra, Om Aim Klim Chamundai Viche, then the Aim usually is focused on the genital area. Aim and Klim, it is the left nipple and the right nipple. And then the navel. So the way the mantra is recited, the concentration moves. The first concentration is on the, when the first word is uttered, the concentration on the genital area. The next, left nipple, right nipple, navel. Now, I'm not an expert on this, but the point is that the recitation has to be done along with certain other things, which includes nyasa, which includes yantra, which includes your lifestyle changes, which includes preparation, and which includes focus on certain parts of the bodies or certain chakras when certain syllables is uttered and the way it is uttered. Like in Sri Vidya, one of the common is a, e, la, re. Pasaka, harak, re. And sakala, re. Now, the last one is spoken very quickly. And this is to be repeated. And the way it is done is when each chakra is taken up, the core sound of the chakra is taken up. So let's say you take up the first one, lam. So then you recite lam, then you recite these three. Again, you say lam. And then you go into each of the petals of the chakra.
Okay.
Each petal, sorry, in each petal, there is a Sanskrit syllable, the alphabet of Sanskrit. So first you speak, then you speak these three Shri Yantra ke jo one of the core mantras in a particular way. Again, you speak that syllable, then go to the next petal. In that, another alphabet would be there. Speak that alphabet, speak these three mantras, 3 lines, again speak that alphabet, then go to the next chakra. So that way you do in a very complicated way the mantra japa. It is not simple recitation of the mantra. It is going to each of the chakras using the central sound of the chakra and alphabet in each of the petals of the chakra. Before and after these 3 mantras. And with each of the nyasas. So this kind of things, psychoanalysis has not even dabbled into it. That these practices can give us results at the psychological level. So it's a completely esoteric area. The only interesting part is that it produces results. And that opens up a completely new area for understanding the human system and the healing process. This whole area of using sound and visualization along with some mystical practices and doing them in a very, it's almost like there is a technical manual of doing it. It is not some person just sitting down to do whatever he feels like. It is not a layman's activity. It's a highly detailed, manualized technical activity. So this is another area where we can explore how each of the psychoanalytic issues that we are grappling with, say for example, the split, the Oedipus, the self-esteem stabilization problem, the self-cohesion, the obsession with the transitional object, the fear of loneliness and the no capacity to be alone. These problems that we grapple with every day, how do we use these tools for healing? So the question is, are we ready to look outside of the psychoanalytic classical frame to search for new tools for healing? And if we find them to be effective, then how do we incorporate them either within psychoanalysis or by expanding the realm of psychoanalysis?
So when you talk about the different psychoanalytical phenomena occurring in the human mind, what about the patients who are critically ill, severely having mental disorders? How do you think how this yantra can be helpful? How a holistic healer having some basic knowledge can apply something, or there is a possibility maybe it is unexplored or not being put on practice? What is your understanding that how it can be, if at all possible?
Tradition tells us something, and our training tells us to be cautious about all these claims. So tradition tells us that mild, moderate, and severe, these esoteric practices can help all the three category of clients. But
Okay.
we have to be cautious about such claims because in the past, many claims made by traditions have not actually come true. So a safe way of going about it is to evaluate these claims and evaluate these techniques. Now, where the healing cases are seen, how do we explain them? Now, it can be because the method works, and that time will tell as we scientifically evaluate it. But for the mild cases, what one can understand is that maybe it has to do with they finding an omnipotent object or a good guru figure, which has helped them in filling up the core vacancy that was causing all these problems. Secondly, there is also some merit in tools outside of psychoanalysis being effective, because now we are also looking at new facts coming up scientifically speaking, like research in the area of intergenerational trauma, research in the area of psychedelics, research in the area of reincarnation, and research in the area of holistic healing. Now, all these areas force psychoanalysis to look at this esoteric area seriously, which previously was a taboo. So my feeling is, in a few years, the taboo will dissolve and we will start sincerely looking out at other models of the mind, other models of reality, other tools and techniques of healing, and expand the realm of psychoanalysis.
So, but then why should psychoanalysis even consider these esoteric areas to engage with? There's a lack of expertise. There's certain ways which it is forbidden for the new people.
Yeah.
Why then?
Three parts. One part is we are aware of our limitations and something has to be done to overcome the limitations. And that something would mean we have to step out of our traditional boundaries and look out for something new. And that something new can also be consideration of techniques used in ancient India in Hindu spirituality, including Sri Vidya. That is one part. That our limitations force us to look out and consider new entities for evaluation. That is number one. Number two is researches as they are going on in areas of transgenerational trauma, psychedelics, holistic healing, and reincarnation. These findings are forcing us to expand the realm of psychoanalysis. That is second. It is a force from research. Findings from research are forcing us to open up. And the third is patients have gone holistic much before we have. So even if we confine ourselves to tradition, our tradition, patients have gone holistic and they are uh, using a mix and match of all kinds of healing processes, including the esoteric ones, which we refuse to consider.
Right.
So it is the movement in society towards holistic healing. So if you put together these three things, um, it becomes almost an imperative for us to open the doors and consider and evaluate and engage with the area of spirituality in general and areas like Sri Vidya in particular.
So, when we see that it is Sri Yantra is all inclusive, but whereas psychoanalysis has specifically talked about human mind and unconscious parts of it. So, what we if we reverse the lens and see what psychoanalysis can give to Sri Yantra if we merge the two disciplines together?
Um, both can give something to each other. It will be mutually enriching. What Sri Yantra can give, Sri Vidya can give, is a time-tested and a holistic approach to the human mind, which includes the mystical elements. For example, say the use of mantra or use of herbal elements or the use of nyasa. The tools which are used in Sri Vidya can be considered how they can be used for psychoanalysis. So, because they are proven tools. So, a holistic approach and proven tools. This is what Sri Vidya can bring to psychoanalysis. And what psychoanalysis can bring to Sri Vidya is elemental, well-researched, standardized knowledge on what happens in each of the petals in the processes. Psychoanalysis can bring the process knowledge. And one more thing that Sri Vidya can bring, that is, if you recollect, once we had discussed about different schools of psychoanalysis, and I had talked about all schools can be divided into full school, three-quarter school, semi-school, and quarter school.
Right.
And I had said, sorry, I had said, if a school has philosophy, model of the mind, pathogenesis, and healing technique, it's a full school. And that no school in psychoanalysis has. Freud and Jung were the last great system creators. So, they did not have a philosophy in an extended way coming into their theorizing or practice. At the most, they would have a meta-psychology, a step short of philosophy.
Right.
But they definitely had a model of the mind, pathogenesis, and healing technique. So it was a three-quarter school. And then we had thinkers like Klein and Winnicott and Kohut, who did not even create a model of the mind, but they only had pathogenesis and healing technique. It was more like a half school. Now, Sri Vidya has all the four. It has a philosophy, it has a model of the mind, it has a pathogenesis, it has a healing technique. Of course, couched in the language much different than psychoanalysis, but in some sense, it has all the four. In that sense, it becomes a full school. Now, one of the things that I have done is that to create a full school, and this is something very interesting because I created the heat model of the mind to overcome the defect of the shortcoming of psychoanalysis, where we did not have a full school. So we did not have society, history, and philosophy and epistemology engaging with psychoanalysis. To overcome this, I created the heat system of psychoanalytic understanding and healing. And later on, I realized that just as I was trying to develop a essential theory of everything from a psychotherapeutic standpoint, a much larger form of that already exists in the form of Sri Vidya. That the heat model of the mind, the heat model of psychotherapy, in some way, I discovered it independently of Sri Vidya. I learned of Sri Vidya much after I developed heat, but I could see the parallels. That there are very strong parallels between heat and Sri Vidya. So if we have time, I can just show you a few things. Let me just share the PPT. If we look at Sri Vidya and heat, let us look at the heat model of philosophy. The heat model of philosophy is there is a reality. The reality, from reality, an emanation comes and creates a principle. The principle is the base of our universe. And this principle has the journey of universe into it. Complete knowledge and power to guide the journey of the universe. And there is also a part of it which is completely free, not bound by any rule. So from the reality creates a principle. And this principle in turn creates a universe. And from the same reality, another principle can be created and another universe can be created. So the sequence would be this reality can emanate many principles and each principle will create a universe. And each universe may have a different journey, different type of life forms and so on and so forth, even different laws of nature. So the heat philosophy was that there is a reality, from reality comes the principle. The principle has the journey of universe into it. It also has freedom and it also is in connection with the reality. The reality can intervene to change the principle if it wants. And from the principle, the first thing the principle does is to create laws, fundamental laws. From these fundamental laws, it creates the primal karma to make sure the life of the universe goes as planned. And then Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh are created. And then they in turn create elementals, Panch Mahabhut. And then the universe gets created. Earth gets created. Life, mind, history of the history starts. And we find an individual today who finds himself in the as a successor to all of this. That 4 billion years ago, a principle was created. And then, say, 2 billion years ago, the earth was created. And then, mind was created a few million years ago. And then, I today stand as an individual at the end of this whole process. And I reflect back upon myself and the world. So this becomes the philosophy of heat. The only difference between this and Sri Vidya is, in Sri Vidya, there is no conceptualization of the principle.
Okay.
It is the reality, which has a desire and it manifests the Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. I have put one more stage of the principle between reality and Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. So some people would say Brahma will be before it and Brahma will create the principle. I would say reality creates the principle and the principle enables this stream of Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, which we think of. There is no necessity that some other mind in some other universe has to think on same lines.
Fair enough.
So the contingency is an outcome of the principle, and the principle is not subject to our contingency. So this is how the universe as a system gets created and so on. Then the human system, the 5 bodies, the chakras, and then the psychological states, and it goes on. So you can see the parallels between Sri Vidya and the heat system.
Actually.
And what is important is that Sri Vidya almost is like, in psychoanalysis, we call the romantic vision of psychoanalysis. Okay, there is a classical vision and a romantic vision. The classical vision is the pessimistic, Freudian, Kleinian, Bionian vision, and the romantic vision is a more optimistic, Jungian, Cohusian vision.
Absolutely.
So this is like a Sri Vidya is more on the romantic vision of reality rather than a conservative classical view of reality. And it's a complete package of self-knowing, self-transformation, world-knowing, world transformation, mystical powers, the adventure of consciousness, to use Supreme's language, and a way of enlightenment. Can we test Sri Yantra at every point? Why not? If we know the details of Sri Vidya and Sri Yantra, we can put it to test. And that, I think, should be the next objective of putting to test, knowing Sri Yantra, Sri Vidya, and testing it out, and then slowly making it more empirical, elemental, and standardizing it, even more than it is at present. So this is one part, and this brings us to the very important part of if we understand Sri Yantra and Sri Vidya better, can we change Sri Yantra and Sri Vidya? Because if we understand more than before, can it be changed? There are 2 ways of dealing with it. One is, without a structural change, functional explanations can be changed. Or if we understand ourselves and the universe so well that even the structure of Sri Yantra needs to undergo a change, but that is something very fundamental. We'll almost need somebody like a Rishi to have that kind of an understanding. But is in principle it possible? In principle, yes, because Tripura Sundari is endlessly creative. So it is possible that if in her creativity, the fundamental structure or the process undergoes a change, or we get a fundamentally new insight, then the structural changes to Sri Yantra and Sri Vidya also can be done. But that's a more fundamental, more elemental, once in a many centuries kind of an event.
And maybe what we are seeing today is already a modified version of later understanding of the entire phenomena.
So this is something I just wanted to add on to the Sri Yantra part, that like psychoanalysis undergoes a change, the functional explanations of Sri Vidya definitely undergo a change from school to school and over a period of time. The structural differences also are there. It's not that different schools don't have structural differences, but they are not fundamental. Like, the differences will be few. I mean, it will be rare to find different number of petals. It will be more easy to find how in each petal the understanding and the operation is done. So there are many variations also of Sri Yantra which are there, but the classic Sri Yantra stands, and the geometry is very important. And just if anybody is interested, there is a temple in Andhra Pradesh which is made exactly in the form of Sri Yantra.
Oh.
So you can actually go to that temple and see each and every part of Sri Yantra in a magnified, concretized form and do the worship there. You can see it online also. Online also you can see it.
Definitely, we'll be checking that. So much to learn. Esoteric and deep journey it was. Hope you do feel equally enriched, our dear viewers. See you all. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Namaste.